Welcome to the Champion Within podcast, your go-to spot for unlocking a winning mindset. Whether you're an athlete chasing greatness, a parent cheering from the sidelines, a coach leading the charge, or an educator shaping young minds, this pod party is for you. Hey, if we haven't met before, I'm Kate McCauley, your pod party host, former educator turned mindset mentor. I get to meet people where they are and get them to where they want to go. Expect awesome guest conversations with athletes, some solo chats to level up, and always leave this pod party with quick, powerful strategies to help you and your crew push past limits, embrace challenges, and crush goals both on and off the field. Let's tap into the champion within, because greatness is just a mindset away. Thank you for joining me on the Champion Within today. I am excited to share this guest with you. You know that when I look for guests, I will put an invitation out into a lot of different places to search for people. I happen to put something into a group where I am connected with a lot of different speakers, but they are all women. I think it is really important for me to bring people from all kinds of different places onto the podcast so you can get a mindset view from different people and hear about their journey and learn from them. There are people that send me the podcast form and immediately I say, I need to have this person on the show. Hazel happens to be one of the people who jumped out at me as soon as I saw her message, her podcast form completed. I'm not sure if I even waited to send an email. I might have sent a message right back and said, Hazel, I need to have your story on right away. Do you want to come on this week? And thankfully, she was available to chat. She's going to tell us about her journey. I think my parents who listen, my athletes who listen, my coaches who listen, my business owners, really everyone who listens to my show, you are going to have a moment where you think, wow, this is really inspiring and I can take this. Even if my journey isn't the same as Hazel's, I could put this into my life. So sit back, enjoy our conversation, and get ready to steal some of the wisdom I know she's going to drop. Hazel, thank you for joining me today. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm really excited for today's talk.
Good. I'm so glad to have you here. I'm just going to start with, tell us a little bit about where you are now, and then we'll go back to how you got to that place. What are you doing now as far as your professional career?
Currently, I am a full-time professional figure skating coach. I am the founder of the Onyx Theater Troupe, which is a theatrical skating program. And I also teach private lessons and group lessons locally to young and aspiring athletes. My story has come full circle, and I'm now in a position where I'm giving back to the sport that I love so much. So it's fantastic. I also have, my speaking career that's just launching on the side, which is taking my story and my message and hopefully inspiring others to chase those dreams, go after those goals, live the life that you deserve. I believe that everyone has magic within them. They just need to go find it.
I love so much of that. So let's go back to where the journey started. Tell us, how did you become the figure skater and maybe that magic that was sprinkled into your journey that you get to share with the athletes you train and when you're up on stage as a speaker?
So I fell in love with skating at a very young age. I think I'm going to date myself here, but I was watching Dorothy Hamill compete and I just saw her on TV and I was just mesmerized by what she could do on the ice. And I remember turning to my mom and I'm like, Mom, I want to do that. I think I was about 6 years old at the time. My first date with skates on the ice was for good behavior. My mom said if I didn't cry going to the dentist, we could go to mothers and toddlers skating during the lunch hour before going back to school.
Of course, I love your mom. Your mom's amazing. I'm a big fan of the bribery.
So we went skating and I was like, oh my gosh, like where has this been all my life? At the time, I was only 7. And there just happened to be a skating coach on the ice that day. And she had asked my mom, where does your daughter skate? Because I just took to the ice naturally. Like if I could walk, I could skate. I just didn't doubt that I couldn't do it. And she's like, well, she doesn't take lessons. She's like, oh, you need to get her into skating. So I ended up signing up for skating lessons, and I was in the Learn to Skate program for about 6 months. Then I transitioned into the academy and started taking private lessons and learning jumps and spins, and had a pretty good competitive career for about 2 years. Then my life started to fall apart. So to put it in perspective, I was 9 years old and I thought my life had ended. That's how
Mm.
much in love with skating I was. So the first domino that fell was my skating coach at the time announced that he was moving away out of, well, I grew up in Canada, so he was moving to another province. And so as devastated as I was, I thought, okay, that's okay. My career can still go on. I'm going to miss him terribly, but there are other coaches and I can find another way.
Right.
So that was fine. I skated for a few months, and then my parents separated. And our family is from Scotland. I was born in Scotland. My brother, my mom, my dad, we emigrated to Canada when I was very young. My mom and I went back to Scotland for a 6-week vacation, and that had turned into 6 months.
Oh,
And I was
wow.
desperate to get back to Canada because I wanted to skate. Long story short, skating wasn't going to be in the works for me. So my mom and I ended up moving to Scotland permanently. And we lived on an island that had no ice rink at all. I used to go down the street doing axles and, training, off ice training basically. And every birthday, what do you want for your birthday? I want to go back to Canada. Every Christmas, what do you want for Christmas? I want to go back to Canada. All I wanted to do was to get back on the ice.
Wow. So even from that young age, you just had that love of skating and it just stayed with you.
I knew in the depths of my bones that that's what I was meant to be. That's
Wow.
what I was meant to do. It was my identity. It was the one thing that gave me true happiness. And I often say to people, if you don't know what you're passionate about, think back to your childhood. What did you enjoy doing? What were things that brought you joy? Or what are some things that you can do that time seems to pass by very quickly and you don't realize it, and you look at the clock and you're like, oh my gosh, it says time already. That's a clear indication that that could be something that you're passionate about.
Yeah, you're in
Um,
the flow. You're in the flow
yeah,
right there.
yeah, you're
And
in the flow.
my listeners need to pay attention to that because you need to lean into that. Hazel just gave you a great tip. If you're trying to do something, I have people tell me a lot. I feel like I just don't have fun anymore, even a teenager, college student, or an adult who I'm working with. And they say, I really just feel like, ugh, life is just, ugh, I'm not loving anything anymore. Lean into what you loved when you were a child. And maybe you can't do it exactly the way you did it when you were a child, but there are ways where you could modify it, or maybe you could do it the same exact way, but lean into that and see if you get into the flow, lose track of time. That's a great tip. So keep going. So you're in Scotland now and you're living with your mom. And
Yes.
did you ever get back to the ice, move back to Canada? How did this evolve?
So we did eventually move back to Canada. I was 13 years old at the time, just before my 13th birthday. And as soon as I got back, the first thing I said was, okay, can I skate? And my parents were like, whoa, whoa, whoa. That was probably the darkest days of my childhood when my parents had split up. They were just trying to live their own life. Like they were trying to make ends meet, raise a family. Like they're on survival mode themselves. So they didn't have the capacity or the energy to help this child pursue her dreams, right? So for me, it was like, be quiet. We got bills to pay. We got, that's the last
Sure.
thing they needed to hear. And I don't blame them. I just kept thinking in my mind, like, okay, I'm 13. I've still got time. And if I can just skate before I get too old, I can still make something of this. And every year that passed was every year that I was like, no, I got to find a way back. Like I can do this, I had talked my dad into buying me a used pair of figure skates for my birthday, my 13th birthday, and convinced him to let me try out for a synchronized skating team. Back then, it was called precision skating. And they had a really good program where you could do a lot of fundraising. I thought, if you don't have to pay for my skating, will you let me skate? I'll do all the fundraising there is. I'm going to find a way to make this work. I'll mow lawns. I'll deliver newspapers.
I love this quality of yours. Okay.
Like, how can I make it happen? I convinced him to take me to the tryouts. There was a lot of people trying out. And I was one of the shortest skaters. So they put me on the end of a line, which I had never skated synchronized skating before. I don't even think I had seen it before. I just knew it was on the ice and I didn't care to what capacity. Like you said, so how you do what you love to do might change over time. As long as you still get to do it, it still might be worth it. So I didn't care how I was going to skate. I show up to the tryouts And within the first 10 minutes, I got toe picked in the shin, which
Hmm.
was very painful, but I desperately wanted to make the team. I didn't say a word. When I got off the
Wow.
ice, my tights had got stuck in the dried blood in the hole that was in my leg. So I had to like peel it back out and rip the wound open. There was blood everywhere. And people were like, what's going on? I'm like, I'm okay. I'm okay. Because
You're
I
like,
just,
I'm good. I'm good.
I'm good. I'm good. I can handle it,
I have
Um,
another leg. It's
I
okay.
have another leg. I'm fine. I'm fine. But that just shows you the testament to like how badly I wanted it. It wasn't a bad injury. It's
100%.
just,
That deep
yeah,
love of the sport.
deep love. Like I'll do whatever it takes. Chop my head off. I'll do whatever it takes.
Right. I'm all in. I'm all in here.
But I did not make the team.
Oh,
And that was a really devastating blow. I didn't give up. I didn't quit. I thought, okay, that's just not meant for me. There's got to be another way. I'll get a job. So as soon as I turned 14, I got a job working at a fast food chain, and I thought I can pay for my skating. After school, you work. Well, skating is after school. So here I am. Do I go to work to pay for skating or do I go to skating? I couldn't do both. I didn't have a car. I didn't have the support system to be able to drive me around. I didn't have the resources to get to skating. When I finally turned 18, I kind of put this time frame on it. Like once I'm 18, it's over. I'll never be able to make anything of this career. I turned 18 and I put that dream to skate in a box and buried it deep down inside, never to be seen again. And that was the end of my skating desires. That was miserable. I was miserable. My dad had talked me into, why don't you play soccer? Your brother's a good soccer player. Why don't you. I had so much energy and desire to do something with my life that I said, okay, well, if I could gain his approval and I play soccer and I do well, he might reward me and let me do what I really want to do, which is skate. So when I joined high school, I tried out for the soccer team and I made it with zero experience. I applied myself, right? I thought, okay, this will be good cardio training. I'm going to build my muscles. At least I'm keeping myself active and fit so that when I do get back on the ice, I'm not starting from scratch. I have,
the whole time you were still thinking ice
yes, I
skating,
still
ice
want to get back on
skating.
the ice. Yes, I'll do
Okay.
this for him and I'll please him. And then
Right.
maybe he'll let me do what I want to do. So I
Okay.
joined the soccer team and I showed up to practice. Sometimes we practiced before school, after school games. I was very studious. I worked really hard and I learned to the best of my ability and I sat the bench for the entire year. The
Wow.
last game, the last minute, the coach said, Hazel, go in. And I was like, okay, well, it's 1 minute. I might as well make the most of the 1 minute.
Sure.
That year ended. Grade 10 comes along. I joined the soccer team again.
Hey there, before we dive back into the pod party, how about we sneak out for a quick break? Feeling the weight of the daily grind? Our workshops and staff development programs are your backstage pass to success. We're here to arm you and your leadership squad with the tools to ace those goals, tame stress, and foster a winning culture. Forget the boring seminars. Our workshops are all about real connections and real results. Whether it's virtual or in person, we're here to elevate your success. After the show, visit shop.danunow.com to learn more and set up a free call to chat. We tailor our programs to fit your needs and goals. Let's get back to the show. Grab your virtual goodie bags so you can fill them up with all of the mindset magic. So you're on the soccer team sophomore year, and what happened this year? Did you have a better season? Did you actually get into the games?
Well, so I thought, okay, I got a year under my belt. Maybe it was a rookie year thing. You have to sit the bench. So I showed up, I go to all the games, all the practices, and I sat the bench for the entire year. The last
Not
minute,
again.
yes, the last minute of the last game, coach goes, okay, Hazel, go in. And I was like, okay, I guess I'll make the best of this minute. And I went in and I played. This pattern repeated for 4 years.
Girl, you stayed on this soccer team for the whole 4 years?
Yes.
Wow. Did you learn anything in a positive way? Maybe there are some things that you learned from that.
This is when I learned the lesson of perseverance.
Okay.
I grew up in Ontario, and when I went to high school, we had 5 years of high school. It's not your standard 4 years. For 4 years, I sat the bench, and I knew in my mind I had one more year left of high school. But in my world, I felt like I'd rather do something than have nothing. If I didn't play soccer, what else was I going to have? I mean, I wasn't really good at like tennis or swimming, or like there wasn't any other sport that I felt like I could do that
Okay.
was, a high school sport that was free that my parents would allow me to go because it didn't have that financial commitment. I enjoyed the training and I enjoyed my friends on the team and I enjoyed that team camaraderie and aspect of it. And I just chalked it up to, I'm just a bench warmer, but I'm happy to have this rather than nothing. At the end of that grade, one of the girls on the team had asked me, hey, do you want to come play summer house league? And I'm like, what's that? Like, I didn't even know. She's like, well, we have this house league team. My dad's the coach and I think you'd like it. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. So I talked to my dad. Can I play this house league? Okay, yeah, sure. And I'm like, what? Like, I can't believe he said yes. I show up to this summer recreational team and her dad, who was the coach, goes, okay, Hazel, you're in. And I was like,
you're like, wait, what?
I don't play.
I actually have to go in the game for this one?
I was like, I think you have the wrong person. Like, not me. He's like, no, Hazel, go in. I was like, okay. I remember having this like adrenaline rush where I was like, do I know what I'm doing? Do I know how to play? And within 5 minutes, it was as if I had played for 4 years. Because I never, in my mind, when I trained as if I was a player. I trained as if I was competing. Sure. I didn't let not playing deter me from building my skills and learning the game. It was the best summer ever. I literally took 4 years worth of training and it's like spilled out onto the field that one summer.
I love that.
Then the last game of the season, the summer league season, was a tournament, and it was the last game, and it was tied. We went into overtime, double overtime, triple overtime, and they had to declare a winner because there was a trophy to be given away. Then it went into shootouts, second set of shootouts, and I was the last player in the shootouts. If I scored, we won the entire thing. I remember it all hinged on me. And I remember walking up, the soccer ball was set, the goalie was, pacing back and forth. And I was like, I can do this. I can do this. I've done this in training for 4 years. I've done this. I can do this. And I ran up to the ball. I kicked it, kept it low, put it in the corner, and it went in. And
oh my gosh, Hazel, I was like, please let this ball go in. When you're telling the story, I was like, please let this ball go in. Hazel, was your dad at the game?
To be honest with you, I don't even remember.
You don't remember. Okay.
I don't think you
I gotta pick apart a couple things here because there's so many things in this story that I think my listeners cannot miss. And I think sometimes we will just go right to that, did the ball go in? Because I know I was sitting here listening, hoping the ball went in. But I want to first, we had already touched upon it, but the fact that you stayed with it and you did those 4 years, because there are moments when people may say, and I'm not saying that you have to stay with something if it's, a toxic environment, it's okay to leave, but there are moments when you say, oh, I'm just a part of the team and I'm going to stay with it. And for whatever reason, maybe you don't want to be on the tennis team, but you want to be a part of something and you stay with it. You gain friendships, different things. And then there was another moment in your story where your friend asked you to be a part of this team. You had a decision there to say yes or no. There may be some athletes and some parents who would say, you never play, or I never play. I'm not good enough to be in this rec league. But you said yes. Sometimes we just need to say yes to things and think, let's see what happens here. Give it a shot. And then when that coach put you in and you said to yourself, or, if you didn't, now in reflection, you're thinking, I had 4 years of training. Let's see what I got here. And I'm going to go in and give it all I got. And then you stepped in and owned it because, be honest, you did put in the work and you were doing all that, whether or not your high school coach put you into the game or not, you were at all of those practices. So I love that. I think that's important for people who might be not getting the time that they want in the sport that they play, whether it's soccer or whatever sport that they're playing. And then you said something, and I hope I'm not getting it wrong, but to just trust yourself that you knew what to do. You've been in this position before when you had to get up there and kick that ball, at the end of that game. I think that is so important related to mindset, to just trust yourself and get in there and kick the ball. I think that, of course, we want to make that shot and all of that stuff, but be in the moment, trust your training. I'm glad it went in for you, of course, but I think there were so many things leading up to that that are valuable
Yeah.
lessons that people could steal.
Well, I think a
So
lesson that I would like coaches or leaders to take away from this was don't discredit an athlete just because they don't show potential at the beginning. Potential isn't always raw talent or knowing how to do the sport already. Potential is, are they dedicated? What is their work ethic? Are they loyal? Are they willing to try? Are they willing to suck at something new to get better at doing what they're doing? So all
Hazel, I'm going to turn the volume up on that. I said in the beginning, everyone, I knew she was going to drop some epic wisdom. My coaches better go back and rewind that, because so many times we are presented with, this is the greatest kid, this is the one, and there might be another kid who's, average to good, that is overlooked, but they show up, they do the extra work, that and Hazel, I hope all the coaches listen to that one, because it's an important piece. I hope the athletes who are that athlete right now listen as well. Keep going, keep putting in the work, because it will be noticed whether or not it's that coach you're with now or someone else. And you are gaining skills that are transferable off of the field or the court or whatever it is that you are participating in, that will help you in other areas of life. Speaking of that, Hazel, and there's so much more to your journey that we are going to tap into, but is there maybe one or two of those skills that you think from that soccer experience that you still use today in life, or that maybe you just gained from that experience?
Absolutely. I mean, so you have a choice to decide how you're going to show up. I could have been bitter the first year. What do you mean I didn't get to play a game? That coach sucks. This is terrible. Like, you could have this own pity party, but I valued the training. I never resented the coach. I wished he would have given me a better opportunity, but he didn't. That was his choice. He was in charge, and that's the path that he went down, and I was a byproduct of that path. But I chose to show up how I showed up. I chose to work hard regardless. I wasn't expecting anything in return for the hard work that I was putting in. I was putting in the hard work. So you have a choice in how you show up in life. You have a choice in how you show up for your teammates, and you have a choice in how you show up for yourself. The story does continue. So that summer I was on cloud nine. I had just, it was like, what's that football movie where Rudy is it? And they
Oh
pick him on
yeah,
his shoulders, they pour the
Notre
bucket of
Dame,
Gatorade on
right?
him, they hike him on his shoulders, and that was me. They literally put me on their shoulders and dumped the bucket of water over my head, and everyone was cheering. It was like out of
You
a
see
movie.
from a movie,
Correct, but the
right?
following week, guess where I was going? Back to high school for
Right.
my last
You
year.
had because you had a fifth year. Okay,
Uh-huh.
right,
Yes. And
right.
so that didn't deter me from showing up to the soccer field.
Okay.
It was my fifth and final year, and I thought I have a little bit more experience under my belt. Maybe I'll ask the coach, "Hey, can I play? Can you give me a chance? I want to show you what I can do." So that was my intent when I went back to school the fifth year.
Okay.
And when I showed up that first day, it wasn't the same coach. We had a new
Oh,
coach,
okay.
my friend's dad from the summer league.
Wow.
Yes. So he was a very involved father. He was at every single game. So for 4 years, he saw me sit the bench, basically. And he saw me play that last minute of the last game for the first 4 years. He probably saw that I had potential. And he probably knew I wasn't being given the opportunity I probably deserved. I don't know if her dad had asked her, "Hey, ask Hazel to come play in our summer league," or what happened. I didn't care how it happened, but the stars aligned that last year of high school. He was our coach, and it was the first game. And he's like, "Hazel, you're in." And I just, without a beat, got on that field.
Yeah.
And he used to do a system where if one athlete stood out in a game, he would call them the VIP and say why, and everyone would clap. And it was like every athlete tried to be the VIP of that game. They just wanted to earn that recognition of trying hard. It was a really good camaraderie. We all cheered each other on. And I remember I was playing right halfback, and he says, "So VIP this game is Hazel." And I remember thinking, wow, I went from from the bench warmer to the VIP of the game. This is amazing. And shortly after that, these two men came up to me. They were watching our game. I didn't recognize them. And I was offered a full ride scholarship to go to college to play soccer halfway
Hazel.
through the season. I know. I just needed the opportunity.
Hazel, I
So
just got the chills. Literally, I just got the chills for you because your dedication, someone who saw the potential in you. And initially I thought, well, I'm about to say all the coaches steal that VIP piece, which I do want the coaches to steal that because I think that's really cool and a way for people to focus on themselves. Because I think that sometimes athletes tend, not all athletes, but sometimes if you make a mistake or you do something, they'll say, well, this person didn't do this. A lot of times when I'm working with teams, we have to fix that and focus on what can I do to improve. So when you're being the VIP, of course, there's the team aspect, but when you focus on what you are doing to be a good teammate and an individual player, I love that. And the fact that all of you are celebrating the VIP. I mean, I love this coach. I'm a kind
well,
of
I mean, I think too, like, so a VIP could be given for, I passed the ball to someone and they were able to score.
right,
I
like
get
an
VIP.
assist.
It's not
Okay.
because I was the best of
Right. It
them.
could be
I did
assists during the
something
game.
correct.
Right. It doesn't have to be the highest score. Yeah, of course. I figured
I
that.
did something to assist the team as a whole. So my
Exactly.
contribution to the team gave me the VIP status.
What an amazing coach to have in your life and for him to see your potential. We don't always realize it, but we are exactly where we are meant to be every single step of the way. And sometimes we have to go through some things that aren't the greatest, like those first 4 years where it was the 1 minute of the game at the end. And then that fifth year, that rec league. Thank goodness you said yes. That, it was like you were exactly where you're meant to be. That's amazing. And then you got the scholarship. So you played soccer in college. Is that what happened next for you?
That is what happened next. So I want to go back and say one thing.
Sure.
I talked about how do you show up in life. I think it's really important. And that's what I did for those 4 years. I showed up as the best version of myself for me. That was my gift to me. But you also have to ask yourself, how do you respond when life shows up for you? Being asked on that summer rec league, life was showing up for me. Life was giving me an opportunity and I had to make a decision. So it goes both ways. How do you show up in life and what do you do when life shows up for you? So always pay attention to both sides of the coin when you're navigating life and sports and whatnot.
Sure.
I did go to college and I played and it was amazing. It was just this great. There's a couple people on the team that I knew from the summer league and one from high school and the rest were all like new students from all over the place. It was awesome. It was great. Then the season ended and the second semester began and I was left with a big, dark, empty hole because I had nothing.
Oh.
And I thought, okay, what next? Like I just achieved everything I could achieve for me in that sport, right? Soccer, besides playing travel women's league, which I did the following summer. I thought I'm not doing what I'm meant to do. Like I don't want to be playing soccer. I played soccer for my dad and I went to college and I'm playing, but now that it's over and it's not my life anymore, I had to wait for the following, school year to begin to play again. And I thought it was a really dark place. And I thought, this isn't for me. This isn't for me. And I made the decision to take off my soccer cleats and I never put them on again.
Okay. And do you remember how you came to that decision? Was there some mindset work you did there? Did someone help you, or was that just you just decided this is what I'm going to do? How do you have a moment of clarity? What happened?
It was definitely not a moment of clarity. I would call them the dark days. This is where I became like, I was lost in life, and it was difficult. I dropped out of college, actually. I quit school, quit soccer. I bounced around between jobs. I was miserable. I wasn't fulfilled. I wasn't happy. I just wasn't living in, and I'm going to say a very important word, alignment. I wasn't living in alignment. And I think I knew it deep down inside,
Right.
but I didn't know how to live in alignment. And it was awful. And I think it was about 2.5 years maybe that I did this. I started going to the bars all the time. I was drinking every night. Like I probably was a borderline alcoholic, if I'm going to be honest with you.
Okay.
And because I didn't know what to do. I was young. I was 19 years old, 20 years old. What am I going to do with my life?
Right.
And then someone gave me a book and it changed my life.
Well, you got to tell us what is this book?
So, I was not a reader. So, full disclosure, I hated reading. So, unless I had to read a book in school because I was forced to, I didn't read. I
Okay.
read one novel in my life that was in Scotland, and I was like 10 years old. I was given this book called Live Your Dreams by Les Brown, and it sat on my nightstand for about, I don't know, 6 months. Didn't even look at it. And one night I was like, what is this book about? I picked it up and I was sobbing after the first chapter. I could not stop crying.
Oh,
And it
wow.
was just like, I guess I just realized that I was waiting for permission from someone. I don't know who. I was waiting for permission to do what I should have been doing all along. I
Mhm.
realized I was living my life based on society's expectations. I was living my life to please my parents, so for them. I wasn't living my life for me. No wonder I was miserable and hopping around because nothing ever felt good. I did this job. Maybe if I make more money, I'll feel happy. Maybe if I, do something that's creative, I'll be happy. Nothing felt good because I wasn't truly doing what I was meant to do or what I wanted to do. When I read that book, it was the first time I realized that I didn't need anyone's permission. I just could give myself permission.
Yeah. So did you sign your own permission slip?
I did. I was like, what am I doing? If I want to skate, then I'm going to skate.
Okay.
It
I
was
love
almost like
this.
it was instant relief. The
Right.
minute I said you can skate, I was like, I can. Like I'm having this inner conversation with myself, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I can. Why can't I? Who's stopping me? The only person stopping me from skating is me. Why am I doing that?
So true. And this is true for everyone. If people are listening right now and they're thinking, I'm Hazel, maybe it's not with soccer and skating or whatever it is they're doing. It's, insert your thing, my listeners, and you're doing all of the shoulds and the supposed to's. You're people pleasing. You're not signing your own permission slip. You can. You can. It's not going to be easy, but you can. So, how did you sign that permission slip? How did you let go of the shoulds, the supposed tos, those people pleasing behaviors? Because you were doing that for a really long time.
Yes.
What
A
did
really
you
long
do
time.
to let yourself truly do what you want to do?
So this goes back to what you said earlier that, if you want to rekindle an old passion that you once had, it might be in a different way. I had one path with skating, be a champion, go to the Olympics. Like I wanted to be the best in my sport. Now I am 21 years old. I realize that I can still have skating and find complete happiness and fulfillment. It just might be to a different capacity. It might be a different way, but I can still earn that same gratitude and gratification. Once I took out the parameters of it was this way or the highway, it just opened up the doors. There's so many different ways that you can be a skater and be successful. I just simply got back on the ice for the simple sheer joy of skating.
Oh,
That was
love
it.
that. I
Mhm.
absolutely love that.
And the path back was far from easy.
Sure. I'm
So
so glad
I
you said that because sometimes people think, oh, great, she just put the skates back on and bippity boppity boo.
no, I
She
wish.
is, yeah, everything's great. I like to remind people of that because some people think, oh, that's real great for Hazel. She can just do this, but I can't because this, that, and the other things. It is not an easy path. I'm glad you mentioned that because it's honest and it's real. What happened there that made it tough for you and how did you push past those obstacles?
I was working in a job that I didn't make very much money doing. I was going to have to make some changes to be able to afford to skate. I could afford to skate 2 sessions a week in those used skates that I had from years ago. I was on the ice for 2 weeks and I got a stress fracture
Hmm.
because I stepped on the ice and I was like, okay, let's go. Like, let's do everything I used to do. And my
Going all
body
in.
it wasn't really ready for it. I thought, okay, no big deal. I'm going to wait till next season, right? Next September, and I'll save up some money and then I can maybe afford to pay for lessons as well as my ice time. The following fall, I was in a car accident on a freeway and I was in a neck brace and I was pretty injured. And I thought, okay, Well, I've waited, I've waited 13 years. What's 14 years? I thought, oh, I'll wait till next year. The following season came up and I was able to pay for two. And I had a friend who had just turned pro and she was a coach and she was like, I'll help you. And so we kind of did little exchanges. So she helped me, train, and my mom sewed skating dresses for her because she was still testing. And I got stress fractures in both legs
Oh
3 weeks
my
into training.
goodness.
And I thought, what is going on? Finally, I get to do what I meant to do and what I love to do. Then why am I hitting all these brick walls? What the heck is going on? Am I
Right.
not meant to do this?
Sure. Of course, that would be
Um,
floating through your brain.
and people thought I was crazy. I'm 23 years old. What are you going to do? Give up this childhood dream. It's too late. You're washed up, whatever. You know what I mean? Grow up and get a real job. I just ignored those naysayers because it wasn't their dream. They didn't know how I felt about it.
Well, I
I
love
had
that,
this.
Hazel. Not everyone can see your vision. And there
No,
will be people who say, you're crazy. Just forget
absolutely.
that. Move on. Do this. It'll be easier. But if you can see your vision, then that means it's possible.
Correct.
You have to, people who are listening right now, you're going to have people who are close to you sometimes, people you think want the best. And I'm sure they do want the best for you. They can't see your vision. If you can see your vision and you want it, just like Hazel is telling this story, to keep going. Hazel, tell us, what did you do?
I had to sit back and say, okay, what path am I meant to be going on? Because sometimes doors close on you for a reason because you're maybe on the wrong path, and life and God or whatever your beliefs are trying to steer you a, to a different way, right? The other way is life is testing you. Are you sure you really want this? Are you sure? We're going to throw in another challenge. Are you sure you want it? Okay, we're going to really make sure you want this. Are you sure? The best way to know if it's what you're meant to do is that you are going to be willing to find solutions to your challenges. It is going to be worth the work it's going to take to overcome the adversity and to overcome the setbacks. When you're going through it, it's going to feel like it's worth it. It's not going to feel like too much work. It's not going to feel like maybe I should. You're not going to doubt yourself. If life is testing you, you're going to say, okay, bring it on. What's the next test? I got you. Okay, bring it
Right.
on. That was easy. You're going to have to make them harder.
That all you
So
got? I'm here for it.
I'm here. Come on. What else you got? Every challenge that I faced was how can I overcome it? Because I'm moving forward. Dragging things behind me or not, I don't care. I'm moving forward. And
It's like
so
that
for me,
bloody type that you had when you were a little girl. You're like, I'm good. I'm in. Stayed with you.
I'm
I
gonna,
love it. I love
I'm gonna
it.
I went to those people that make custom orthotics and I said, look, I've got this problem. My bones keep fracturing at the top of the skate boot. I need to figure out how to make a pad that I can maybe tape to my leg so the skate boot doesn't press against the bone. And so I created this thing with these two plastic pieces of, I don't know, they're like popsicle sticks. And then there was like foam on either side. And I would like tape them to my leg. And then the skate boot would sit and it would push against the plastic and not my actual bone. So I found a solution and I could
Everything's
skate.
figure outable.
Everything is figure outable. So I figured it out. And so I skated that season and I took a couple tests and got my feet wet and did a competition. It was wonderful. I was training and I realized I do love skating. I do need to make an income. I'm going to go back to school so that I can afford to skate more.
Sure.
And so I applied to school and I was living in Windsor, Ontario at the time. And I had applied to become an x-ray technician up in school in London. And I bought a U-Haul, packed up the trailer, rented a house, moved everything up there. And then I was working at a children's camp. And so one of the weekends I had off, I was at home and I'm like, okay, the new house in London, I should look for a part-time skating job. Maybe I can learn to skate while I go to school. I walked into the office and the fax machine back then had kicked on. And the lady goes, oh, it's a job interview or a job posting. And I was like, okay, cool. She's like, oh, no, you don't want this one. It's out of the province. And I'm like, well, can I just see it anyway? And in my mind, I'm thinking, well, if I can just practice a job interview, then I'll be ready for when I actually do one.
Right.
So it was for a job out in British Columbia, and I applied for the job, and I was interviewed, and I was hired. And I didn't unpack my U-Haul. I hooked it up to my car, and I drove out to British Columbia, and I taught skating full time. And I
Wow.
didn't go to school. So I was on the ice for like 22 hours a week. It was me and another coach. We had 126 students. It was basically a full-time job. And in that 8 months that I worked out there, I took and passed 17 figure skating tests, which is a lifetime of figure skating tests. Like most kids pass 1, 2, 3, maybe 4, 5 if they're lucky per year. I did 17.
Wow. This is incredible. And
Incredible.
again, thank goodness you're next to that fax machine. You're exactly where you're meant to be every single step of the way. And sometimes we don't realize that this is exactly where we're meant to be. Looking back, you can see that, and you just to say, no, let me get that because I just need to practice going on job interviews.
It goes back to, what do you do when life shows up for you?
Right.
Life was giving me an opportunity. I had the choice. Do I play it safe and go to school and skate a couple days a week, or do I take a chance and see if I can make my dreams come true?
And you took action.
I took action.
This is amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
and at the end of that year, so the other coach had taught there for about 5 years, and she's like, I think I want to change. I'm going to try it for Disney on Ice. And I'm like, you can do that? It didn't even occur to me. And I was like, oh, that'd be really good to go through an audition process, because if any of my students ever wanted to try it for Disney on Ice, I'd know how to prepare them for an audition. And so I thought, okay, maybe I'll try to see if I can get an audition too. And not thinking I'm going to join Disney on Ice, although of course it would be a dream come true.
Sure.
So I went to an audition, and 6 weeks after my audition, I got a rejection letter in the mail. And I was like, okay, I'm going to wait 6 weeks from the date that I got this letter, and I'm going to call them. And so I waited and picked up the phone, and they're like, oh, who is this? And I was like, told them my name. And they're like, oh, didn't you get a letter from us? A letter from us? And I said, yes, of course I did. But I just thought maybe things had changed between now and then. I just wanted to call and follow up. Well, of course, they have a stack of applications.
Right.
She probably, went through and pulled mine out and thought, okay, who is this girl? She must really want a job here. And the next day, I got a job offer. The next day.
Ice skating.
To skate for Disney on Ice.
Wow.
And I'd been back on the ice for 3 years. And 3 years minimally, because I only trained from September to May of the school year, 2 days a week, with a friend helping me and being self-taught, watching videos, watching other people. And then I had gone out to British Columbia again. The other coach helped me, and I was mostly self-taught. And I wasn't perfect, right? So here's the thing. Ordinary people can achieve extraordinary things. You just have to be willing to try.
I love
You have
that.
to be willing to suck at something to get good at something. So I wasn't the best. I wasn't the best, but I had the best attitude. I had the best work ethic. I had the best approach, and I'm just going to try. And
Hazel,
that's what I attribute to most of my success to.
I love it. And I call that, when I work with all kinds of people, but especially my athletes, you controlled the controllables. You called them. You showed up. You practiced when you could. You went and said, I need to fix something for my leg. We're going to put this foam in the stick, the popsicle sticks. I'm going to control the controllables. There were some things out of your control. You can't control those things. But you could make the phone call. You could do those things. It's incredible, like you said, that ordinary people can do these things. You just have to show up. You have to take action. And sometimes when an opportunity presents itself, we're afraid. And you have to push through that and think about your vision. Think about that little kid who just wanted to be on the ice and loved it. People who are listening right now, what are you saying to yourself? And are you not taking action? Because you do deserve to have what you want. You deserve to be happy and live your dreams. And it's okay if it looks a little different than what you thought it should be when you originally had that dream and vision. I am so happy that you did that. And so many people are going to learn from you because you're sharing your story. And now you get to train ice skaters who get to live out their dreams, learn how to skate, and just be inspired by you. And when you get on stage and you share these moments and stories with people, whether or not they're ice skaters or not, that doesn't matter, that part. It is just so inspiring. Thank you, because honestly, I think it's selfish if people don't share their story because we need to hear that from you. I know someone listening to my podcast right now is thinking, I want to do a thing. And I can because I heard Hazel. I'm very grateful that you're sharing this story. And I can't wait to see all of the people that say, Hazel, I did this because of you. This is just so incredible. And
That would be amazing.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's going to happen.
And I look back at the things that I did professionally as an athlete, as skating with Disney on Ice. I was skating with people who had gone to the Olympics. I was skating with national titleists. The end result was the same. All these people had different paths, and here we are in the same cast on the same show. We just all had a different path to get there.
Right.
So you don't have to, there isn't a straight and narrow path. It is not a straight and narrow path.
Right.
Your path might be windy, hilly, bendy, loopy. It doesn't matter. As long as you just keep going forward, you will end up at where you were meant to be if you pursue it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This is such an incredible story and so many lessons learned along the way. And I just think that there's so much to learn from it. I know that when I go and share this episode with people, it's going to be hard for me to even say, learn this or that. It's going to be a long list of things that I want people to steal, athletes, coaches, parents, just people in general, that they can steal from this. I'm really grateful for you. And I'm happy to hear that you went for it. When you're working now with athletes, what is something and I feel like this is going to be a hard question, but what is something that you would say if you had maybe one line or one piece of advice that you would give to an athlete who's thinking, I'm not sure if I should keep going or if I'm good enough here, or, if this person doesn't believe in me? Is there something that you would say to that young athlete?
Well, burnout is definitely a big factor in a lot of sports, especially since we're pushing them much younger to achieve a lot more, a lot earlier. So the burnout factor is high. Giving athletes permission to take a step back and find the joy in their sport again is very important, because why did they start it in the first place? So maybe taking a couple months off or a year, or not away from the sport, but change the focus or change the goals so that you can find the joy in it again. And then you will rekindle that desire and you'll have a clearer path of what you want to do. Your mindset has to be clear and you have to know where you want to go with it. When you're in burnout mode and you just don't know if you have what it takes anymore, it's really hard to train and to push yourself at those higher levels. So just giving yourself permission to do that.
I love it. You need to start having permission slips there, and you're not going to sign them. They're going to sign them, just like, here, you need your own permission slip. I love that. That answer is amazing. And I actually, ironically, when you were talking about the giving yourself permission slip, it is something that I have said about myself. I need to give myself permission to do these things. So it's interesting that you brought that up, because I connect with that with my journey from teaching to what I do now, still teaching, but in a different way. So really cool. I think that's great. At the end of my show, I ask all of my guests to answer this question. If you had the opportunity to swap lives with anyone, dead or alive, for just 1 week, because we do think you're amazing, we don't want to lose you, who are you going to choose and why?
So this question is actually quite easy for me. The first person that popped into my head was Princess Diana. And the reason being, I think, is because well, first of all, the British connection, and, we grew up idolizing her. But I had the privilege of playing a character in real life with Disney on Ice. So I've been a princess. The magic that you can bring and how you can touch the audience's lives just by being a princess, the kids are just amazed and they're like, wow. And you're just really giving them something really special. But imagine if you could do that for real life, like not fake real life, but really be a real princess. And through her humanitarian efforts and through her kindness, she has left a legacy that has literally changed the world. And to experience that for 1 week, I think would be absolutely amazing. And, if I can do anything, and if it's a smidge or like a 0.5% of what she's given to the world in my talk and how I'm inspiring other people, then I'm very, very fortunate and grateful to be able to do that.
Very cool. I love that answer. I love her, by the way, and have watched all the documentaries and everything. Actually, I'm going to show you, and not that I don't always do the whole thing on video, but I have crowns right here in the office. I might have to use this clip on Instagram, but I actually talk about wearing your crown. If I don't bring it to, sometimes I do a red carpet thing with some of the teams I work with and students. Actually, I'm going to do red carpet with teachers soon at an event. And I talk to them about owning that princess or queen or king energy and all kinds of things related to confidence and showing up as your best self. And my bracelet here on the inside, it's from my mom, says, don't forget who gave you your crown. So a lot of things related to princess, queen energy, that type of thing is something that aligns with me. So
I love that.
Yeah. And I did not, I mean, of course I knew about the Disney on Ice thing when I was stalking, looking into you, but I didn't know about Princess Diana. So, but really cool answer. That's going to be hard for someone to top. I also would love for you to drop if there's any links or anything, and everyone who's listening right now, we will definitely put that in the show notes for you. So you can just go click. We don't want to make it difficult for you, but if you would like to share the best places for people to connect with you, because I know after people listen to this, they're going to want you to come and talk with their people. Where should they come to find you?
Yeah, so you can visit my website at hazeljmurphy.com. And that is where we're launching everything. So I have a blog there. You can book me as a speaker there. My book is going to be coming out soon. So yeah, I'm really excited to connect with everyone. And I hope that everyone can find their magic. Look, I'm just an ordinary girl trying to live an extraordinary life. If I can do it, you can too.
I love that so much. And thank you everyone who listened to The Champion Within today. I'm excited to see the rest of the journey for Hazel. There'll be some twists and turns and some exciting adventures along that journey that we will all be leaning in to hear more about. And there's going to be people that are impacted by Hazel. And I'm just going to say right now that I am going to be hyping it up, saying I knew her when she was just getting this started. So, just saying. But anyway, thank you for joining us today, Hazel. I can't wait for everyone to hear your story. They're going to love all of the wonderful wisdom that you dropped. Thank you again for joining us. And
thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
You're welcome. And I wish you the best, rooting for you always. Thank you, everyone, for joining me on The Champion Within today. Make sure you go down and look at those show notes, connect with Hazel. You can stalk her too, book her for, your events, and make sure that you click on those links. We will see you on the next episode. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Whether you are going to coach, teach, cheer from the stands, or hit the field yourself, remember, mindset is everything. Don't forget to follow the show because we all need a little extra motivation, humor, and some sanity in our busy lives. Go unleash that champion within you, one step at a time. I'm rooting for you always.